welcome to our weekly pause. My name is Angie Tucker. I'm a board member and secretary of Revelation Gardens. Revelation Gardens is a Benton County nonprofit working to reduce the number of pets in need in our community. We've started a weekly podcast on Sundays to talk about all things pet related. Today's topic is pet care in summer. First, what I want to say is I thought this might be a good topic because I was talking to Dawn about I had gotten guinea pigs for my library. And I found out there's all kinds of pet care needs for guinea pigs that I'd never heard about or knew about because I'd never taken care of guinea pigs. And so I found out, like, first of all, you had to have two guinea pigs together. You couldn't just have one. You had to have a certain size cage or they wouldn't be happy, things like that. And so I got to thinking, I've always taken care of cats and dogs. And so, I don't wonder about those pet care needs because I've always done it. But there are people who've never had a cat or never had a dog. They don't really know what those needs are. So we wanted to start with just the basic pet care. So we're going to pretend like, okay, I'm just adopted a puppy or a kitten, never owned one. What would you tell me are my basic pet care needs that I need to be thinking about, things I need to buy or have at the house before I bring my pet home?
Well, it depends on the age of the puppy or kitten. Obviously, when they're younger, they're going to need vet care first. That's going to be one of the first things that you're going to want to do. If they've already had vet care from the rescue, then that's not as crucial, obviously, at that age. I think the first things that you need to do with a kitten is to have a cat box, cat litter. You're going to need to have some scratching posts and toys and a good quality kitten food. I give our rescues both dry and wet. And similar for a puppy. They don't need a cat box, obviously, but they're
They
going to
might need
need
puppy pads.
they might need puppy
Mm-hmm.
pads, and they're going to need a leash and a collar so that you can get them some exercise. If they're going to be in their own yard, you need to make sure that the fence doesn't have any ways that they can escape. I think it's always good to get your pets microchipped as well. That will ensure that if they do get lost, that they can be scanned and get back to you. But the basics would be good quality food and bowls. They're going to need to have fresh water and food and some toys to engage them.
Mm-hmm.
So for cats, scratch posts. Cats love to scratch and climb and explore, and puppies love to chew. So you always need to
Oh,
have something for them to
no
chew on
chew
that's
walls if
appropriate.
they,
Uh-huh.
yes. Uh-huh.
You don't want them chewing on furniture
Mm,
or shoes, and
mm-hmm.
so when that happens, you have to redirect them. I believe in positive dog training and
Mm-hmm.
not scolding and hitting and that sort of thing. You want to redirect them to the appropriate thing that is, you want them to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
So having strong, good quality toys is going to be really crucial for a puppy. And exercise, because the more they exercise, they'll sleep better and they won't be as crazy in the house. So, good quality food, fresh water, and appropriate things, depending on if it's cat or dog, for them to engage with.
Okay. So, as that animal grows and gets older, what daily, so there's daily needs. Sometimes we forget, oh, I'm going to get this puppy and then I'm going to have him. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have to take care of him every day. So, what are the daily needs you think people should be sure that they're checking on with a pet, cat or dog?
Yeah. Um, they need to be fed twice a day. Some people believe in free feeding, so they leave like a bowl of dry food out. It really just depends on your preference. That's what I do. So definitely kittens need more and puppies need to be fed more often. They shouldn't have long periods of time without access to food because their blood sugar will drop too much and it can be dangerous for them. So I let our animals just have food whenever their bowl is empty. And some people don't agree with that because of weight gain and that sort of thing. But when they're young, they need to have access to food so that they can develop properly. And our rescues oftentimes come from environments where they were deprived. And so We have a lot of food issues, so I want to make sure that they have access to food so that they feel safe. Um, so for a puppy or a kitten, and you always want to check with your veterinarian,
Mm-hmm.
because they have the best medical advice, obviously. I
Mm-hmm.
am not a medical expert.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an expert in caring for our rescues.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get a puppy or kitten at home, you want to make sure that you feed them, I would say, every 3 hours, maybe every 4 hours, depending on their age, of course. If they're older, I mean, you can be, up to a year old and still be considered a puppy or a kitten. So it just really depends on what age they're at in that 0 to 12 month range and how often they'll need to be fed. And I would consult with your veterinarian to get, you know, precise information about that.
What about the water? Because we talked about how important it is to clean our water bowls. And
Yeah.
so, do you want to mention something about that?
Yeah, that's really important. A lot of times, you'll just dispose of the water that's in there, or if there is any, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just fill it back up. But there could be kind of a slime residue that can build up, and that's bacteria. And so you want to make sure that it doesn't have to be every single time, but every other time or every couple of times, you're going to want to get in there and clean it,
Mm-hmm.
or give them a fresh bowl and then put that one in the dishwasher. Because you don't want to add to the bacteria that is in their system in a negative way, because it causes a lot of problems, obviously. And plus, it tastes better if it's nice, cold, fresh water.
Mm-hmm.
And pets have, a need to have fresh quality water.
We want fresh water,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's give the pets the fresh waters, yeah.
Yeah, so get rid of that slime.
That's right, that's right. Um, One of the things too that we've mentioned that I didn't ever think about is when you get a new, if you've never had a dog or a cat, you might want to look in your yard and make sure there's not any unsafe vegetation. Remember, we had
Absolutely.
a,
There's so many things to consider.
mhm,
So, first off, you want to consider the breed, and we can talk about that more either on this podcast or in a future, maybe both, where we talk more breed specific
mhm,
information. But you always want to consider the breed. Is the breed going to fit with your lifestyle? You're not going to want to get a Great Dane if you're in a small apartment. You don't want to get a bulldog or a pug if you're going to be out hiking a lot, because they have the short snouts, and they have a difficult time breathing, especially in hot weather.
mhm, we're
They
gonna say
overheat. So there's breed specific information, but then there's also safety.
mhm,
Just like a child, you need to pet proof your
mhm,
home,
mhm,
and also your yard. You want to make sure that there's no uh, antifreeze laying around or sharp objects. They're always very curious. They want to get into things just because they're curious by nature, both dogs and cats. So you're going to want to pet proof your home. Make sure there's nothing that's unsafe, whether it's chemicals or uh, piles of lumber with nails sticking out or unsafe houseplants.
mhm.
There are a whole listing of plants that are unsafe for pets. In particular, lilies are really dangerous. Cats love the flowers, and the pollen is highly toxic for them.
Mm,
So lilies are really bad. There's a whole list. So we actually did a podcast with Mary Gladura
mhm,
that talked about um, pets and plants. You can reference that on our website. There's a lot of great information there.
mhm.
Um, Things that it contains xylitol. Xylitol is a sweetener, highly toxic to pets. And so you want to do some research. You can always get a hold of us, and we can help you find resources that will help you know what to look for.
That's
Um,
with my guinea pigs. So I know they can have lots of vegetables, but I'm not sure about all of them. And so every time I get a new set, because I'm doing this um, where they send in the vegetables to your home, and I get all these different kinds of vegetables and go, okay, can guinea pigs eat radishes? And it'll pop
right,
right up. Yeah, they can eat radishes, or they,
right.
yeah. And
Yeah, it's
so, yeah.
important
Mhm. Mhm.
to do the research, and
Mhm.
just be mindful. I think if you just utilize the internet and look up the information, or utilize your veterinarian, or we can be a resource as well.
Okay. So that's if we get now, if I get a rescue dog that's an old, or a rescue cat that's very old, what are some of the things that I'm going to need to do in my house that I maybe wouldn't have thought of with a puppy?
Yeah. Well, it's actually similar in a lot of ways because they may be incontinent and
Mm-hmm.
puppies are just learning how to control themselves. So you might need puppy pads for a senior.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just, they're going to need less exercise though. So that would be a big difference between a puppy and a senior. You just want to make sure that you know their health history. You've been in touch with a veterinarian and haven't had them examined, so you know what you're in for. And you just need to have a lot of patience. Older pets, Duke was my most recent senior dog, and he had some Alzheimer's. He would
Mm-hmm.
wander,
Mm-hmm.
and he also was incontinent.
Mm-hmm.
And they're difficult. It's difficult to have a rescue like that, but it's also very heartwarming because you're really giving them the best quality of life at the end of their life.
Yes, yes.
So some of the needs would be make sure they have a veterinarian checkup so you know what you're dealing with, puppy pads for both cats and dogs, and quality food. So you need to know if they have, you know, urinary tract problems. You want to get them a special food for urinary tract issues, and make sure that they have access to fresh water.
One of the things that I've noticed with Obi, who's my rescue, who is a elderly when we got him, is we have to be real careful about what he jumps off of. And so, they were used to being young and jumping off everything, and now that they're old, they want to jump off too. But I've got to be real careful and watch him. If I put him, he can't really jump up by himself, so I'm the one that's put him up there. So once I've put him up there, I have to stay with him and make sure he didn't try to jump down and hurt himself because,
That's a good point.
yeah. Mm,
We actually have some pet stairs. They're just little sets of stairs that you can put up next to a bed or a couch, or
my
they have
dogs will
cat
not
food.
use it.
Yeah, mine have, and I use it for cats too. But
Cats
yeah,
seems
they
like they'd
don't
use
use
it,
it.
but my dogs will not. Now Vader will use it to go down, but he nobody uses it to go up. So at least they
Interesting.
go use it to go down. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's when it would hurt them the most, I think. But going up, they come to me and go, "Put me up there." So,
Right,
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
So seniors do have special needs, and I always recommend people to go to their vet to discuss that further.
Okay. Well, we want to talk about those basic needs because what we want to go into next is it's fixing to be summer. The last day of school was Friday. And so a lot of us are ready for summertime, but there are some specific needs for animals when summer comes. So we're going to let Dawn tell us some of the things you need to be aware of in summertime.
Right, and in summer, ticks come out, so a big consideration for both cats and dogs that do go outdoors is tick prevention. But that's also something that you should consider year round. Fleas and
Especially
ticks,
here, yeah, in the
and
South, yeah.
it depends on which one you get, which topical treatment, or if you use a collar. If you use a topical, I know Revolution in particular, that it also takes care of ear mites and worms. And so that's one thing I failed to mention when we were talking about kittens and
Puppies, yeah.
puppies
Hmm.
is, having those preventative treatments, very, very important. You're going to want to treat for heartworm for dogs,
Mhm. Mhm.
and have an ongoing regimen, not a regime.
You have no, yeah.
No fleas and ticks.
I demand.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
But you're going to want to talk
Mhm.
with your veterinarian about all of the preventatives that are important for your puppy and your kitten. And then summer in particular, those ticks are crazy. I've already pulled some off, and mine have prevention, but they still latch on.
Mhm.
And I guess that, it makes sense they have to latch on to get what's in their bloodstream to kill them,
Mhm.
but it still is alarming to find ticks on your pet.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
then
of,
on you.
yes,
Yes, they crawl on me
yes,
too.
and on us.
Yeah. But they love my husband best, so usually the
Really?
ticks go to him. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow,
That is
that's
so true.
interesting.
Yeah. I don't know what's the difference. He tastes sweeter. Uh, Go ahead.
But some big considerations when the weather changes, whether it's to the summer and hot or to the winter and cool, is being really mindful of what is okay for your pet. So, for example, with hot weather, there's no real rule on what's too hot other than if it's obviously, 100 degrees and more, but it's really breed specific. Some pets that are, don't have the really thick fur can tolerate more,
But they have to be
but
careful about sun issues too. I had a friend who had a Zolotl something. It's the hairless Mexican hairless dog, and she had to put sunscreen
sunscreen,
on him.
yeah. So
Mhm.
there's a variety
Mhm.
of, issues to deal with if they have a short coat, sunscreen
Mhm.
perhaps, or
Mhm.
just not staying out in direct sun. If they have a thick coat, they're not going to be able to tolerate higher temperatures and higher humidity. Humidity is a big part of it too. Generally, they say most dogs can tolerate up to 90 degrees, but it's really breed specific,
And that's so
and
I have
size specific,
pugs.
age specific as well. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of factors. If you walk your dog in the heat of the day, it's best to not. It's best to walk at in the mornings or the evenings, and prefer like a grassy area as opposed to pavement. And always check the pavement if you do walk on pavement. If it's too hot for your fingers, it's too hot for their pads.
Yeah.
So always check the temperature of the pavement, but preferably to walk in a grassy area or something like that. And at either end of the day is better. But also want to make sure that they have access to fresh water. Water is very important to pets, and it should be cool water. Make sure that that slime is gone from their bowl, and never, ever, ever leave your pets in cars. That also applies to seniors, the elderly, as well as children.
Mhm.
You have to be really mindful. And I have this meme here, this graphic that talks about the temperature that increases in vehicles. And so if the outside temperature is 70 degrees, within 10 minutes it can jump to 89 degrees, 30 minutes 104 degrees. So if you
And
run
it's just
into
a nice
Walmart for a few
day.
things
Yeah.
and the line is longer than you expected,
Mhm.
and you're in there for more than 30 minutes, your dog could die,
Mhm. Mhm.
as your child and senior or handicapped or
And that's just 70 degrees. That's not 90 degrees,
no, you think
Yeah.
70 degrees,
Right.
it's fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of people also think that, I'll leave my windows partially down, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference. And I've even heard of some people leaving their car running, with the
Mhm.
remote, having the starter, I think it's like a remote start thing or
Mhm. Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
or even not, just leaving it running with the air on. But that might not always be, appropriate either. I
Mhm.
think that if you use the remote type, that if you get out of range, it will automatically turn off. Or I've also heard that it will turn off after 10 minutes.
Mm.
So you have to be really aware and not just assume that it's going to function the way it's supposed to. So the
Mm.
best thing, if you're going to be going to the store, leave your pets at home.
Mm.
Um, I mean, let me just talk a little bit more. So if it's a 90-degree day, it's 109 degrees in your car in 10 minutes, and in 30 minutes, 124 degrees. A pet would not survive that.
Mm-mm.
So it's very important that you, even in the shade, that you
Mhm.
not leave your pets in the car. I've heard that there's some laws that people, good Samaritans, can break windows now. I'm not sure what the laws are here locally, and I should know this.
Yeah.
So I'll research that, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more on another podcast. Um, so in hot weather, some of the signs that you can look for in dogs that are overheating, and again, it's very breed specific. Pugs, which
Mhm.
Angie loves pugs,
Mhm.
but pugs, bulldogs, dogs like that, they have the short noses.
Mhm.
They don't do well in hot weather. And especially, I saw one time I was driving to Jackson, and there was a guy walking. It was it must have been at least a 100-degree day, and he was walking on the interstate with a bulldog.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I it was
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know whatever happened to that dog, but
And they say so. I'm part of pug groups and stuff, and I've had people post like they've been outside for 10 or 15 minutes with their dog, and they would start these that you're fixing to tell that quickly, especially those short-nosed dogs, but any dog, smaller dogs or something like that, and they had to rush them to the hospital and get them, cool things on them and cool their body down.
Yeah. So some of the signs to look for are panting and drooling. Now, dogs don't have sweat glands, and so when they pant, that is their way of cooling down. So panting in excess to what they normally do, drooling, rapid heart rate, vomiting blood, disorientation, muscle tremors, and unconsciousness.
Is it different for cats?
Probably.
Hmm.
I don't.
Because when I was young, my mom didn't let our cats inside, so our cats were always outside. But cats seem to always find
Yeah,
a place.
we have a group of cats at the sanctuary that we do allow outside,
Mm-hmm.
and Oliver is our male that I've noticed a few times when he's been out and he's black. When he comes in, because they can access indoors or outdoors for times when we're at the sanctuary, and he actually does pant.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a good sign for
Right.
a cat to be
Yeah,
panting.
yeah.
So I think he had got to the point where he realized that he needed to be in, and it took him a little while to cool down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, cats that are homeless, I think they're smart enough to find shade. But if you own a cat that's always outdoors and they don't have access to shade,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Right.
it would be something to make some changes so that they could
Mm-hmm.
access a cooler environment. Um, so those are some of the signs to look for in a dog in hot weather. But I would say overall, just be very mindful. Give them access to grassy areas with trees for shade. Um, give fresh water and
And
exercise them at the ends of the day.
one of the things that I've found, but that I need to always be aware of and think about, because I love to take my dogs and do things with my dogs. Um, And yesterday I was at the Bodoo extravaganza with Revelation Gardens, and there was a couple of people who brought dogs, and one of them had a dog that just was off leash and was wonderful and just roamed all around. But one of them had him in a little buggy, and I'm sure they took care. The one that roamed around was fine, but one guy had his black, really furry dog Friday night, but he did not have it out Saturday because I'm sure he knew Saturday was going to be too hot of a day for him to be out in that heat. So when we do events, and you want to take your dog, double check your temperatures, double check what event you're going to. Is there going to be a place for you to go in with your pet if he gets too
Yeah,
hot? Access
Birdsong
to
is just an
water. Yeah.
open area
Hmm.
and gravel, so that
Yeah.
wouldn't have been a great place for a dog.
Yeah. But that Roman one, he was fine, and he went up to everybody. And everybody gave him drinks and whatever. But but know when you're taking them to an event what's going to be there, that is that appropriate for them or not. Hmm.
I think the key is to be considerate and conscientious of the animal and will it be too hot for them?
Hmm.
I mean, not just assuming and having a plan
Hmm.
um, and doing a little research and touching the pavement. Is it too hot? Is it going to be comfortable and fun for them?
Hmm.
Those are things that are important to consider.
Hmm.
And I think it's best to leave them at home.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's always good for them to get out and socialize and get exercise, but the environment has to be right for them.
Right. Right. And see, I took a dog to meet Doug the pug at the gardens that are so pretty in Nashville, and he was not happy being there. And we used to always take our dogs. These dogs I have now, they don't want to go anywhere. And he wouldn't walk. He wouldn't walk. I had to carry him the whole
Uh-huh.
time because he was so intimidated. It was a dog days at summer kind of thing where everybody brought their dog. It was fun. We'll have to do it if they do it again. And but I couldn't take that dog. Was not a good dog to take, but it was easier than the others because he was lighter to carry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Be
think,
aware of your pet and what your pet's comfortable with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some dogs aren't social like that
Mm-mm,
and
mm-mm.
get
He didn't
intimidated with
want to.
pets.
Mm-mm.
It's just like people. I mean, they They say that they're at like a 3-year-old level of
Hmm.
the mental capacity. Um, but they all have personality similar to us. I mean, um, I'm not a real outgoing social person, and so big crowds are okay, but I don't know. I better just smaller groups, I
Yeah.
think. And my husband, he actually doesn't like big crowds either. And there's pets like that.
Hmm.
But then there's some pets that are super social,
Uh-huh.
you know?
That yellow lab, he loved being around all those people, but he was used to that. Yeah, Yoda Pug, my soulmate dog, he loved being around people too. So since we're talking about summer, I thought that we might mention that we're having events this summer.
You actually mentioned Dog Days of
Uh-huh.
Summer,
Yeah.
Dog Days, the event in Nashville. Well, we have the similar
Hmm.
Dog Days of Summer. And the idea behind this is COVID it just made it a tough year in 2020, and this is an opportunity for all of us to have some fun. It's also a fundraiser for Revelation Gardens for all of our rescues. And so the idea is to have a food truck, some live music, vendors, we're going to have some speakers. We have all of that, and it's the third Friday of every month, starting in June. So June 18th all the way through October 15th. So it'll be June, July, August, September, and then October. And now, you stay away. We had a podcast where she stepped on our
Computer,
recording
yeah.
key and stopped the recording. We didn't realize it till afterwards. Good, she got down. um, but the October event, it's actually our second annual Poctoberfest, and we're gonna have a blessing of the animals with Pastor Whitworth, Steve Whitworth. We're gonna have a cutest pet contest again. And those were really fun events last year.
I don't know how anybody wins that. They're all cute.
I know. I feel bad for the judges, right?
Yes, yes.
So we're going to have those events within those activities within the event. But June 18th is our kickoff, and we're going to have Huntington Fish Shack. That will be our food truck. So that'll be a lot of good food there. And then Sheila Pearson is going to present Creative Flow. Now, Sheila Pearson, she has taught yoga and some other classes that all are about um, body wellness. And so that's going to be a really great thing with
Hmm.
her.
She's great.
And then our live music. Guess who's going to be our live performer?
I don't know. Tell me.
It's Loretta Lynn's granddaughter, Taylor
Woohoo!
Lynn. She's the coal miner's granddaughter. So
Yeah.
that'll be a lot of fun. And then I've added to the lineup an after party. It's going to be an exclusive event called with Black Eyed Susans. So that'll be a lot of fun, and that starts at 8 p.m. So
I can't wait. I tell you. And I've been trying to tell everybody. And if you don't remember the dates, go to our website and you'll find the dates there.
it's true.
And watch all our podcasts and like them and share them and do that kind of thing because I want everybody to notice me and I want to be as famous as Bo Duke and go down the road and honk my horn. Um, so anyway, thank you for joining me
Well, just one more
today.
thing. So
Okay.
Dog Days of Summer will be at the Vintage Shop, and we're right on Main Street next to Camden Donuts. So the vendors will be outdoors, and then the music and speakers will be inside.
And all the cats will have to be put up because
Yeah.
yeah, because we'll be uh, going in and out. So thank you for joining us. That's our podcast for this week. We would also like to extend a special thank you to Canada Animal Clinic and Fox Sanitation for being our sponsors. Through their generous support, we are able to bring you this podcast each week. Remember, if you have a pet related question, email us at revelation.gardens@gmail.com. And don't forget, you
I
were,
was just going to say, and I totally interrupted you, but people might not know who I am. I didn't say who I am, so I just wanted to say quickly I'm Dawn Harris, and I'm the founder and president of Revelation Gardens. I also am the custodian, and I do everything in
she is.
between.
She
But
is
I just wanted to
everything. Yeah.
interject that because I don't think I introduced
I
myself.
know
So,
it. I assumed everybody knew. Um, so you say same cat time, same cat channel.
same cat time, same cat channel.
But dogs rule.
All right,
Thank
guys,
you.
see ya.